Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. As always, I have my hot priest candle lit. I didn't even show our guest this from
Oh,
Fleabag.
nice.
I also
Yeah.
drink out of the hot priest mug, and I'm very excited to have our next guest. Please welcome Sharon Azrieli. Did I say it correctly?
Perfect,
Oh,
perfect,
wait, hold on.
perfect.
There's an applause app. Oh, wait, there we go. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
I always tell people you can hear it, but because we're recording over Zoom, it cuts out really quickly. So whomever is listening to the podcast will hear the whoop and then it cuts out. But you hear it, and that's what's important.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for the applause.
Of course. Sharon, hello, welcome. Thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Allison.
Of course. So for those who don't know, Sharon is an opera singer. Wow, I can't even speak today. I'm just so excited to have you that I
Thank you.
just can't even talk. So you're an opera singer, you are a synagogue cantor, and you are a philanthropist, which we've already learned that I apparently have issues saying that word. Um, but I always have a show mug for people, and I already showed you, but you have the Fiddler on the Roof mug because you did work on the Fiddler on the Roof cast recording in Yiddish, which is really exciting. And we'll get into that as well.
Yep.
So I always like to start from the beginning. Where are you from?
I'm from Montreal, which is where I am talking to you from today. And I apologize because you may hear my elderly dog, Toby, who is a very sweet half schnauzer, half I don't know what. And he may be growling in the background. So I'm sorry about that. And please don't apologize for any uh, pronunciation things because you're doing terrific.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, if your dog Toby does bark, maybe he just wants to be a part of the podcast as
That's
well.
right. He's in all of my, when you, in during COVID, when we did these YouTube videos, Toby was always, walking in and out under the piano. And so he does, he must have that performer streak in him. So
Yeah. Well, he
that's
comes from a family of a performer,
performer.
so it
That's
makes
right.
sense. Yeah.
My kids are performers too. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
they also, what type of performance do they do?
So Matthew is a folk singer and folk songwriter, and you could see him on YouTube and Spotify. Matthew Azrieli, and my son Solomon is also he's more in the pop genre, and new music. And he not only writes his own music under Solomon Rex REX, but he also here I am plugging my kids. I'm so I'm
You
sorry.
plug away.
I'm a proud Jewish mother. What did I
Yeah.
tell you? He also is on Spotify. He just released a new EPK on Spotify. So both of them are. And he also writes music for other, like, for advertising and for reality shows. Like he's
Oh,
a
wow.
composer. They're both amazing. I'm very proud of them.
Maybe the three of you should get together and do like
So
a
we
family.
just did. We just did. I just wrote a lullaby album, and I got them to sing with me because I decided because my older son Matthew, he's only 27, but he just had a baby a year and a half ago. Very young father, and very young got married, and so I decided I was going to do a lullaby album when the baby was born, and it's about to come out. I'm about to release it on CD Baby, and so I did all the lullabies that I used to sing for the kids. And so like 59th Street Bridge song, the way Simon and Garfunkel used to sing it. And
Mhm.
House at Pooh Corner, Kenny Loggins and Jim Messina. And a one that I wrote for the kids. So we're all singing together. So
Oh,
that,
that's
that
so
yeah.
wonderful.
So I don't know what
Wow.
I'm waiting for to release it. I think, just a few final like mixing and mastering things, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna.
Well, you'll have to let us know when it comes out so whomever
Yeah,
is listening and have children or eventually will can get the Lullaby album. That's so
yeah,
wonderful.
it's a beautiful album. Kermit's, Rainbow, what's it called?
Yeah, Rainbow Connection.
Yes, 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 the
Mhm.
Rainbow Connection. Yeah, 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 yeah. A few really good songs.
That's
There's a
so
rainbow
great.
theme in it, I think, because there's Rainbow Connection and there's also Rainbow Sleeves.
Hmm.
The Ricky, what's her name? Ricky Lee Jones, the Ricky Lee Jones song.
I'm
I
not
don't know
really
what,
familiar with it, but I'll look into it once we're done chatting.
actually, what's his name? Tom Waits song, but it's
Heard of Tom Waits. That I have heard of.
yeah.
So, what got you interested in performing? Because I know you went to college at Vassar and Parsons, but it was more for art as opposed
Yeah,
to
it's funny
performance.
because I'll tell you, I think that performing, like with my kids, I see it too. is just something that you are born that you want to do. Like I just always wanted to be a singer. I think they started to give me the solos in grade two as a
Mm.
singer. You know, if you have a good voice and you just have that personality. But I also think that so my parents, my father was a Holocaust survivor, and you know, they did not want me to be a performer, my parents. So it was highly discouraged, even though it was acknowledged that I had a great voice and that they, you know, that I always wanted to be a singer. It was frowned upon. So I was very, very young to go to college, and Vassar was a great school. I loved it, but they didn't really have a performance per se, you know, degree. So I did. Sorry, you hear Toby barking.
No, it's not. I thought I heard there's a
You know,
dog that lives in my hallway, so I thought it
oh
was that dog.
yeah,
It's fine.
sorry.
I live
Oh,
in New York. There's always something. I'm sure there'll be a siren heard at some point, so no worries at all.
so I got a degree in art history, and I studied singing a little bit there, and then in order to stay in New York City, I had to sort of be in school. So I got a degree in illustration from Parsons School of Design, and I loved it there. But I got about three jobs and took voice lessons too, because my dad said, you know, if you want to go to music school, you have to get into Juilliard. That was the only school he had ever heard of. And so it took me a while to get into Juilliard because I really didn't have any music training. So it took me three auditions to get into Juilliard. You
Oh,
know, I
wow.
kept going back until they had pity on me.
What's the audition process like for Juilliard?
Well, they only take, I think, three or four students a year. They have to have room. The teacher has to accept you into their studio, and it's still the same. It's still a very hard place to get into. So, yeah, it took me. You know, I had to learn. I think you have to sort of know how to sing before you
Mhm.
get it, and it took me those 3 years to figure it out a little bit.
Mhm.
And I'm very grateful that I did get in. Even though I already had been accepted, by the way, to Indiana State, which is I think it's Bloomington, Indiana. Is that out? I don't know. I'm so bad at.
I went to
I'm
school in
Canadian.
Manhattan, so
I'm Canadian.
I'm a New
I was
Yorker.
accepted. I
So
was accepted to Manhattan School of Music too, but
yeah,
my dad didn't know those schools, even though they're exceptional
yeah.
learning institutions. I had to be Juilliard, right?
Hmm.
So finally, I was accepted, and I did appreciate it. But it was a very stressful learning environment. But
Yeah,
okay, the idea is if you can survive that, then you can survive the cutthroat world of performing in opera around the world.
yeah,
And that's what I did after I graduated from there. I started an international career, and I did love opera. I still do love opera. I call it a cardiovascular sport akin to figure skating.
yeah.
That's the
So can you,
closest thing I can describe it.
yeah, so you can't really describe how it's a cardiovascular. Does it
I
make your
can.
heart?
Oh,
Oh, yes,
absolutely.
please.
Sure. Well, first of all, just like any singing, right?
Mm.
You're using your lungs,
Yeah.
right? You're
I'm
using
like
your
propping
whole
myself
body.
up to like
Right,
prep to
exactly.
sing.
We have to stand up straight.
Yeah,
We're using our lungs, right? Because that's what
yeah,
surrounds the column,
yeah.
the
I've taken some voice lessons in my day. I
column,
sing in the
right?
shower.
And you want to have long, long breaths. And don't forget that in opera, you're not mic'd, right? In Broadway, what happened was the whole industry was changed by the advent of Barbara Streisand, right?
Mm,
Because before Barbara Streisand, we had Ethel Merman and people like that.
yeah,
What happened was Barbara Streisand came, and she came from the world of movies where everything is mic'd and everything is small and the face is very small, right? And you just have to basically move with your eyes, right? Because I just started making movies. And I love it, but it's a totally different art. And in opera, you know, you're playing to houses of 5,000,
yeah,
or you're playing in amphitheaters, very very ancient amphitheaters that are in Europe, like in Greece and in Sicily, where I sang, you know, a few years ago, right? And you have to have these grands gestes, you know, very large gestures so that the whole crowd can see you, and your eyes have to be very big, right? And you know your whole your mouth, your chest, your face, your sinuses, this is your instrument, right? You're not a trumpet where you can't make your aperture bigger. You're a person, and the more bigger that you can make your mouth, the
Hmm.
louder you can make. Do you follow? The
Yeah.
more you can push air in through your lungs and your body, the more you can send your voice out over a 90-piece, sometimes a 150-piece orchestra.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Broadway also you don't have huge orchestras. You have, maybe 5, maybe 10 at the most piece orchestras, but they're mic'd. So the
Hmm.
singers have to be mic'd also. And the
Yeah.
singer doesn't really have to work very hard because they're mic'd. If they can't hear you, it's not your fault, it's the fault of the sound guy. In opera, if they can't hear you, you're in trouble,
Yeah.
right?
I'm
Because
just
rarely
thinking
does.
back to like the operas that I've seen.
Yeah.
I've only seen three. I've seen
Okay.
The Merry Widow. I
Oh,
saw,
that's an operetta, one of my dad's
yeah.
favorites. I loved it. One of the first ones I was ever in. Go on.
Oh yeah, I saw Cosi fan tutte, and
Wonderful
I've
one.
seen Cinderella. So those are the only three.
Cendrillon, which is the version of Cinderella.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Right. Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
That I had the
dee,
most fun at
da,
that one.
dee, da, 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 dee, da, 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 da.
I
Yeah,
don't remember it, but I did see it. I
yeah,
will
yeah,
say I was very tired at the first two, but Cinderella and I was there and
yeah. You
I
weren't tired because it's
I
fun. It's
it
fun.
was.
Well, così fan tutte is supposed
Yeah,
to have been fun too, but maybe because it's like an 18th century, opera, it takes a little longer for things to devolve. They had a lot more patience in those
yeah.
days, and
But
so
also a modern updated I mean, it was the opera, but it was like I think it was like 50s costumes or
yeah, no, I
60s.
hate when they do that. But also, it's a sort of a harder plot line to accept because it's like, come on, like these two guys don't recognize that they're their girlfriends. Like seriously,
Yeah.
like it's very, it's a
Shakespearean.
line. Mhm.
Shakespearean in that way.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't buy the storyline to begin with. Like, are guys really that dumb? It's a tough storyline.
Well, it depends on the guy. I was
No,
telling a friend
we
I
don't
was
want to alienate men that are listening. No,
no,
I
no.
find it a very difficult storyline to accept.
I will say though, I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about Target, and she was saying how her fiance doesn't understand her need to go to Target. And I said, I don't think many guys
No,
understand
I
going to
actually happen
Target.
to be very lucky. My boyfriend adores shopping. I just think it depends on the guy.
I
See,
think you
I'm
got
lucky.
very
When
lucky,
we go to
Sharon.
when we, eh?
You got very lucky.
I know, I actually did. We actually have competitions. I always win.
As you should. Tell us about these competitions. Is it who can
Yeah,
find the best thing at the store?
no, you could actually spend more. It's terrible. It's
Well,
terrible.
that I could easily do if I had the money to spend.
Isn't it terrible? No, no, I mean, we can have like a limit, of like
Yeah.
$200, but who can get there first? It's terrible. Anyway, let's move along.
Moving on. So
Yeah.
once Juilliard is over, what's the
Oh,
process like of once you graduate Juilliard, do you get set up
it's
with
like
applications or
it's no, no, it's like anything. You go out and you audition, you
hmm.
get jobs, and you go to work. And I was extremely lucky. While at Juilliard, there was a wonderful conductor, Richard Bradshaw,
Hmm.
from Canadian Opera Company, and he invited me to come and audition in Canada, and I was offered roles at Canadian Opera Company. So that was really lucky. And then after that, you audition and you get work. So I went to sing at Sarasota. I got, one night I woke up and there was a fax from Paris Opera, and I was like, oh my God, I was asleep. I didn't see this fax, and then by the time you call back because of the time difference, you already have missed that opportunity. But then it's like, oh my God. And then they called back because the other soprano didn't take it. It was the cover of one of the greatest singers of all time, Mirella Freni. There was like, so things happen, and
Hmm.
you look back and you think, oh, what if I had taken that job, and what if I had, you always wonder, could I have done more, could my career have gotten bigger? And then at a certain point I made the decision to have children,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of people who didn't have children, and I am so grateful that I did.
Yeah.
I'm so
Is
glad.
that a is that a I
It's
don't want to
still
say issue, but is that a thing in
huge.
the opera world? Like,
Well,
because
sure, I'm
you also
sure.
have a lot of, you know, people who have done TV and film for many years who see, I told you at some point we're going to hear
You know
some.
what? I'm gonna close my door while you're because it's cold in here. Hold on. I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
we're just going to take a moment, guys. Sharon is closing her door. Life is great. I'm just going to riff until she comes back so there's not any dead air. She's back. Hey.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry
I was
about
saying I live in Manhattan and I'm like right off of 8th Avenue. So I'm sure at some point you're going to be hearing horns or sirens. It's happening again. So it's all good.
that's
But what
okay.
yeah, because I was saying sometimes people decide not to have children for their career or they have kids and they try to do a work-life
Yeah.
balance with their career and all of
Yeah.
that stuff.
I
So,
have so many friends, several girlfriends that I went to Juilliard with that I've known throughout the years that decided not to. And I made that decision really, right about then, I always knew I wanted to have kids.
mhm,
And, there's only so many years
mhm,
that you can have them.
yeah.
It's a terrible choice. Of course, male singers don't have that problem.
Mhm,
And so lucky them. But yeah, but you know what? If you're careful, if you're lucky, if you take care of yourself. I mean, really lucky. I've been I can thank please God, thank God I can still sing.
mhm. I'm knocking on wood for you.
I thank you.
You're
It's
welcome.
not the same. It's
Mhm,
certainly not the same. In my 30s, I had this instrument of power, had high C's, in my 40s, I still had the high C's and I could still sing Verdi. As you get into your 50s, it's not the same.
mhm,
And that's what we were talking about before
yeah.
the show, that, you have to switch. Opera is absolutely an ageist career. So, and especially what happened with COVID. Look what happened with so many people where there was no place to perform. So I switched over. I started to, and I was so lucky. I have to say, luck really does play a huge factor. I was lucky to meet Frank Wildhorn
Mhm,
right before COVID. And right before that, I had begun to switch over to Broadway. And I had made my first Broadway album with Marvin Laird,
mhm.
who is Bernadette Peters' music director. So I had begun getting interested in Broadway, had a wonderful experience working with Marvin Laird, and then lucky enough to meet Frank. We made the album Frankly Sharon,
Mhm.
which I hope people would listen to. The Broadway album is on Time Warner, and Frankly Sharon is on Time Warner, and they're on all of the streaming
I
platforms.
listened to, like I was telling you, I listened to Living in the Shadows because again, I will mention on the podcast because I mentioned off podcast. I love Victor Victoria.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up watching that movie. I was one of the very few people in my age range that actually got to see the Broadway production with Julie Andrews.
Oh,
And I only
wow.
know one other person who has actually seen that production, and I have it on DVD somewhere, signed by Gregory Jabara, who was in that production.
Wow.
Yeah, so I love Victor Victoria, and Living in the Shadows is one of the great songs from it too. And you sing it beautifully on your album.
Thank you. So I was so, so lucky. I got to meet Frank. We became dear friends. I
Mhm.
adore him.
Yeah.
And
He has some great stuff out there. I mean,
oh, he's amazing.
yeah,
He's so talented,
yeah.
so talented, so kind. I
Mhm.
mean, and so he basically, this was like a huge moment in my life because I was coming to terms with the idea. So this is 2018, and I'm actually making my Metropolitan Opera debut.
Wow.
Okay, 2018 winter, December, going into 19. So December, January, I'm making my Metropolitan Opera debut as it was a comedic role in a tragic opera. This is
Which
so.
opera was it?
So wait, this is what's so funny,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Because here I am, a nice Jewish girl from Montreal. I'm a cantor, and we should talk about why did I become a cantor.
Oh, we
And
will.
yeah, and what is my role? I'm a nun. Okay,
Listen, I get it. I'm Jewish. When I was
right,
in college, I did a scene from Doubt and I was full on nun. I get
right,
it.
right. And there I am. And not only am I a nun, but I'm the funny nun. I'm the funny nun who all she cares about is eating. In this opera, this tragic opera that is like the most gut-wrenching, tear-wrenching opera that Puccini ever wrote, called Suor Angelica, Sister Angelica, which is like the most, it's a fabulous opera. But the thing is, it's like talking about age and time and all this stuff.
Mhm.
I wish when I was 30, I could have sung the lead role in that opera.
Mm.
And my life's dream would have been to sing the lead role of that opera at the Met. And here I am 20 years later, and I'm singing the comic character role in that opera. So you get there's a bittersweet thing there, right? And I'm
Yeah.
making my debut at the Met singing that. So, yes, oh, it's wonderful. Everybody, oh, you've sung at the Met. Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm so grateful that I'm singing at the Met, but it's not what I wish I would have sung at the Met. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to, I'm not saying it in a complaining way. I'm just saying, our careers don't always take the path that we wish,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Let's see how we can transition into you becoming a cantor then. So,
Yeah, okay. So again, so here, it's all because of decisions that we make.
hmm.
Really, I think it is.
Yeah.
So the decision that I made was that I wanted to have children.
Hmm.
And I was being ardently pursued by a very gorgeous man who was 10 years younger than me at the
Get
time.
a girl. That's what I say.
He was way too young to be a father, but he was very magnificently beautiful. And I just, succumbed. What can I tell you? And I had two very beautiful, wonderful children, as I've just told you,
Hmm.
who are very talented and very good sons and marvelous. And so I had these babies. And then what happened was their father just up and left. Yep. And there I was with two little babies and no partner. And there was really not much way that I could continue my career at that point.
Hmm.
And there I was in New York. And so I had no visible means of support. My parents were like, so, I remembered that I had had a parochial school upbringing.
Hmm.
I was fluent in Hebrew, I still am, and French and English, and by then Italian too, a little bit of German, Spanish, and so on. I'm good at languages. And so what could I do? Because really, I couldn't support these kids. You can go to be a receptionist somewhere or something, and you can earn exactly the same amount of money as you have to pay to the person who's taking care of your kids. And frankly, I didn't want to do that. But um, a cantor actually earns a decent salary
Hmm.
and, works on weekends and holidays. And so that's what I decided to do. And my first jobs were near where I was living in Westchester, and there was a lovely synagogue out in Sag Harbor, which is in Long Island.
I'm from Long
And
Island, so I know it
okay,
fairly
yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah. So that was my
How
first
do you-
job as a cantorial soloist because I wasn't yet ordained. In fact, I never got ordained because it's a very long process. Um, but yeah, I studied for a really long time at the Academy for Jewish Religion, and I worked for 2 years at synagogue in Adas, Israel, in Sag Harbor,
Mhm.
and then finally in 2000, I needed help from my parents, so I moved back to Montreal.
And you worked in Montreal too, correct? At a but there was a
There's
specific
only
synagogue?
one. So I was the first female cantor in Montreal, and there's only one Reform synagogue in Montreal. It's the Temple Emmanuel, and I worked there for 2 years.
So
Yeah.
what brought you back to the stage? Because as a cantor, people probably hear cantor, they don't really know what it is unless you're, Jewish like we are. But you get to perform. and you're performing prayers in these beautiful Jewish songs. So you still get to perform your love of that. But what brought you back to the stage and kind of getting away a little bit from being a cantor?
Actually, I actually thought I would stay a cantor forever. I loved it. I don't think of it as performing because you're y- you're really it's what do you call it?
Prayer?
It's prayer,
Yeah.
and the kind of cantor work that I love to do is what is it when you're sharing? What's that word? It's not so much performing as sharing with the kahal, with the people, that are singing with you, you know?
Com-
I mean,
Not
although,
communion, but yeah,
oh
I
my,
understand what you're saying. I
you
can't think
know,
of the word, but I get
there
it.
are some moments, okay, when
Yeah.
yes, you are definitely singing and they're listening. But
Mhm.
then there's a lot of moments when you're singing and they're singing too. And so that was the kind of
Mhm.
singing that I prefer to do as a cantor. But yes, in a reform movement, which is more formal, I think, than like what you have nowadays, you have a lot more um, less uh, less what oh my God, my English is failing me.
You could
uh,
say it in a different language. It's fine.
so
I
I'm trying to
understand if
think
you
of
can't.
what is the word when something is more formal. Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
reform is a little bit more formal than
Mm,
some of the other kind of
yeah.
traditions. But so where I was, it was quite formal. So there would be moments when it's definitely, the cantor is singing and the people are listening. But then there are also more, like I have an album that I did when I was the cantor called Friday Night Live. And I loved it because you can hear everybody singing with me. And one of my teachers at cantorial school was Saul Zim, Zim. He's from New York, and I did a lot of his music because what I loved about it is it's very what's the word when I sing you sing, I sing you sing, I sing you sing.
Oh, I can't think of the word, but
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
reciprocal,
Oh, yeah.
reciprocal,
Yeah.
reciprocal. So
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. I love that when everybody sings. So what happened is that I didn't, and I'm going to say this. This is very controversial what I'm about to say. So I hope nobody from Montreal is listening. But it's been 18 years. So I am going to say it.
Mhm.
In 2002 or three, um, the the rabbi there, I actually had a huge following. I had 2,000 people at my high holiday services. We had to have two seatings. I believe that the rabbi was jealous. I don't know. I later found out that he had fired 11 people in 9 years in his previous job. And the same problem had happened in Montreal. And I was fired without warning, without cause. And it really devastated me. I ended up having to sue the temple for wrongful dismissal, and I won. I won. But it totally devastated me. Even though I won,
Mhm.
and where did the money go? It went to pay the lawyers. I mean, it's not like there was no other place that I could work, right? Because I was already settled in Montreal. I mean, in Montreal, it's the only Reform synagogue.
Mhm.
So it's not like I could go. I mean, if I had wanted to relocate to Plattsburgh or Vermont or go back to New York, sure, there would have been a lot of work for me. I'm a really good cantor.
Yeah.
But my kids were already in school. They were 3 and 5 years old. They were young.
Yeah.
There, I had my parents near me. Finally, things were, smoothing out, you know. So the truth of the story is that why did I go back to opera? Because I couldn't be a cantor anymore. I really liked being a cantor, but there was no place in Montreal for me to be a cantor anymore. Isn't it funny how life
Mhm.
throws you curveballs?
Yeah. Were
So
you, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay. That's
Yeah.
the story. So
Have you,
after that, I went back to school. That's why I went back to school in Montreal.
mhm.
I went to
And you got
University of
your
Montreal.
master's degree and you
I
also
got
got your PhD.
my doctorate, yeah.
Yeah. So what you going back to school, what did you hope to accomplish with those degrees? And I have it written down. Um, degree in vocal performance and a doctorate in music. So
Both of them in vocal performance,
yes, so
both in music and vocal. Well, number one, I went to University of Montreal, which is a French university, not to
yes.
McGill. And the reason that I wanted to do that was because I wanted to sort of infiltrate the French society of Montreal. I wanted to make connections in the French world of
Mhm.
Montreal because I figured I pretty much knew the English Montreal, right? Because I had such a I knew everybody in the Jewish
Yeah.
community already, right?
Hmm.
And I did, and they gave me a lot of opportunities. I sang with orchestra. I I started to audition in the French world in Montreal, and I sang. I started to sing. I got my manager back in New York. I started to audition. I started to go back to New York. I sang with small opera companies in New Jersey and in New York City, and I sang at Carnegie Hall. And so I started to sing again in the opera world.
That's great. So from then to now, I know that you said you kind of want to start entering into the world of Broadway. And when did you decide you wanted to take that route?
I think, and it was so I made my Met opera debut 20,
Yes, 2018.
in the same year I met Frank Wildhorn.
Hmm.
And in the same year, we decided to start working on Frankly Sharon, the album.
Hmm.
And it took about a year to choose the songs on that album. And it took about a year for me to translate. So out of the 11 songs, two are in English, the one that you liked, Living in the
Hmm.
Shadows, and the other one is Anything Can Happen. And not sure why he chose to keep those two in English. I think because they're perfect in English. I just couldn't imagine them in any other language. And the other nine I translated myself
Hmm.
into French and Italian, and one is in Hebrew. And I think the reason that we translated them is because they had never been translated. Like some had been translated into Czech, into Japanese, into Korean, into other languages, but not into French, not into Italian, and not into Hebrew. So, and those are the languages that I speak fluently. So I could just hear them, in those other languages. So that's what we decided. And then basically, Frank literally, I would say, like spoon fed me how to sing, in this new technique. So if you listen to the Broadway album, you can still sort of hear me almost like my idea of what Broadway sounds like, but I'm not right. It's
Yeah.
too operatic, my singing. Like when I listen to it now, I get mad at myself. I'm like, no, 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 that's not right.
But there's a beautiful richness to your voice too that I noticed that I really loved when
Thank
listening
you,
to it.
Allison.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. But frankly, Sharon, I feel is like that's really like I think Frank got it right. Like he's really taught me how to. He keeps going like, no, no, more breath, baby, more breath,
Yeah.
breathy, no more breath. He's really tough, but he's right. I mean, he has such ears. He's a genius. He's just a genius.
Yeah. So how were you able to perform on other Broadway or off-Broadway albums, I guess I could say, because they're
I
in
guess
English as
people
well.
invite me. Which is lovely, And like for example, with the Fiddler on the Roof album,
Hmm.
well, I made friends with Robert Scher. Robert Scher is a character. He's a total character, nutcase, brilliant character. And so, for example, he's the one who introduced me to Marvin Laird for
Hmm.
the my album, my Broadway album, and he put together the whole thing. And in the Fiddler on the Roof album, um, there are three songs there that I'm on. Two are a duet with Tom Wombat, and one is with a whole ensemble. I'm singing Golda in a first number that was, you can hear the theme of it throughout the show, but it was totally cut out from what the show ended up being.
Mhm.
And it's fun. It's so you don't see my name anywhere on the thing, but I'm looking for it here. It's you won't see it only once you open up the album. If you look at the Fiddler on the Roof album in Yiddish, it's on the inside, the extra, and the
Yeah,
extra
in the booklet,
in
right?
the yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want me to tell you what the songs are called?
Sure, for those listening, that way we can hear you.
Okay, hold on. I have to open it up. I have one here, but it's so shrink wrapped. You know what I'll do? I'll send it to you. If you don't have it, I'll be happy to send it to you. After this is over, tell me your address and I'll send
We'll
it to
do. We won't announce it on the podcast, but
you. Okay, no problem. I will send it to you. But the songs, hold on, I'll tell you. It was wonderful. Did you get to see the show?
I didn't. I also have like no money to see anything now, but I really wanted to see it because I worked for about a year doing merch at the revival of Fiddler, and I just never got the chance to see it. It just passed me by.
So it's called, the one is We've Never Missed a Sabbath Yet.
Mm,
And they're all nervous, like, oh, Sabbath is coming, Sabbath is coming. And the mama, which is me, is saying, don't worry, it's okay. We've never missed a Sabbath yet. And then there's two duets. If I Were a Woman with
hmm.
Tom Wapat, and As Much as That. Two duets with Tom Wapat. And by the way, I never got to meet him. It's all, we did it like I recorded my part and he recorded his part.
I feel like that's the case with a lot of things
And
nowadays, or
yeah,
even in the
yeah,
past,
yeah. I
people
love,
animated
I,
movies and it's like that.
I love his voice, and the people that are in my sextet are Donna McKechnie,
Hmm.
Nancy Opal, Alicia Umphris, Mimi Bissett, and Lauren Molina. Amazing,
Amazing performers.
amazing people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful. It's a great cast album.
Yeah. Well, I'm
I
very
think we
excited
got
to.
a Tony. I think we got a Tony. Not sure. I know that the show got a Tony, but it was a great show. Really, really wonderful show. Anyway, after that, after Frankly, we did Fiddler. After Fiddler, I just came out with another album, which is a tribute to Michel Legrand.
Yes, and that is Secret Places.
Yes, and I love this album. It was
Yes.
also a COVID album.
Yes.
I
So
I
for
I
those
met my
listening,
boyfriend.
yes,
Yeah,
frankly, Sharon and Secret Places were both made during the pandemic.
yeah.
So that's quite a feat
Well,
too.
so wait, so we recorded Frankly Sharon. We finished it
Oh,
February 23, 2020. Can you imagine?
wow. And then like a
Because
month later, everything
Frank
shut
was
down.
with me in Montreal. He was staying in my house. I was feeding him my homemade gravlax every morning. Every morning he would have, he's such a nut. Every morning he would have frosted flakes and a bagel with lux before we would go in the studio. And then we would go in the studio and they would be like, what, I don't know what they were ordering. We would work 12 hours a day
Oh, wow.
and we made this album. The album has how many songs? The album has 14 songs.
Wow.
And we did it in a week because every day we were like, okay, I think we were 11 till 4, and I
Hmm.
would go home, I would lie down, and I would be back 6 till 11 every
Wow.
day, right? And I don't know, those guys are like, they're lunatics, but I guess so am I. Like,
We're every theater person is a little loony, but that's what makes us great.
yeah. And we did it. We did it in a week. And then I took him to, I don't know, you've been to Montreal, right?
I haven't been in over 20 years,
Do you
but
remember the orange julep? I mean, you must know that this
I've heard
huge,
of it, but I
this
can't.
enormous orange place,
Yeah.
the worst hamburgers in the world, the worst French fries in the world, but this orange drink. I said, Frank, you have to experience the orange julep before you leave Montreal. So February 23, a week later. Can you imagine? Was it a week later? Yeah,
Well,
23.
maybe in Canada, not for US yet.
No, sweetheart, March 13, the world closed down.
Yeah. Well,
Talking
I remember specifically for me,
Broadway closed March
yes,
13.
Broadway. Yes.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I used to work in the hotel industry. March 16th, we got we're closing. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And I remember specifically because I was going to wear green the next day for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
So it was March 16th when everything shut down for me officially.
I met my boyfriend that night, March 23.
Oh,
I had
wow.
a concert, sorry, February 23. The day Frank left, I met my boyfriend. I had a concert March 8.
Hmm.
He came to see my concert. We went to New York the next day, March 9. We were in New York City on the day that was March 13. I remember it like it was yesterday. They said the Metropolitan Opera closed, Broadway closed,
Yeah.
Carnegie Hall closed. I honestly thought the world was ending.
Yeah.
Like in my lifetime, I never could imagine a Metropolitan Opera closing.
Yeah.
Just so think about it. February 23 till March 1 is 7 days.
Hmm.
March 7, that's 14 days. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's literally 3 weeks before, for me, the end of the world. Like, how lucky am I that we finished this album?
Yeah. Well,
And then
during,
the mixing and the and all of so then we finished the recording. It was just me on the vocals and Frank on the piano. And
Mhm.
then all of the instrumentation that was added by Jason Howland. By the way, Jason Howland is a brilliant orchestrator. He just had his own show on Broadway, right? And
I
he did
can't
all
remember
of
which
the
one.
orchestration. I forget the name of his show, but you know what you should do? You should add it at the end. You should look it up and add when
No,
you
I'll do it quickly right now.
Okay, Jason Howland, Howland. And he works a lot with Frank, and he just wrote his own show, and it was very successful, and it just closed. Anyway, he added all the instruments, you know, by, what do you call, distance, the way everything was done during the pandemic.
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking right. Oh, Paradise Square. That's what it was.
Yes,
Yeah.
Paradise Square. Okay, I should know that.
So I had to Google it. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. And I should give a shout out to Frank fans that he's hoping to make a return to Broadway now with his new show, Bernadette, Song of Bernadette. So we should all be looking for that. And I'm going to be making another album with him in the summer.
That's
I'm
wonder
doing a
maybe
second
there's a
album.
part for you in that, and you can be in Broadway.
I would have to audition like everybody else.
Right.
But
So
I
we
would.
talked about the pandemic and, the creation of this album. As a performer, and I don't know what it was like in Montreal or in Canada, but what was it like for performers during that time where they couldn't perform?
Terrible, just terrible. I mean, I keep myself busy. I'm always, cr- I think that everybody has to create work. A lot of people were, singing on YouTube. I tried a little bit of that. I hate that. I'm not, I'm not so good at it.
Yeah.
But I went to California because that's where my boyfriend, is from. And frankly, it was great to get away from Montreal because Canada, was just terrible. I mean, we didn't have vaccine. My poor mother had to go way up north to the country because that was where it was safe.
Yeah.
And thank God we had a country house so that she could just be away from everybody. And I think that's how it helped her to survive. We did not have vaccine in Canada. I don't know what happened, but somebody messed up really, really badly. I'm going to blame the prime minister, but you know, we didn't have vaccine in Canada, okay? And I'm very lucky because my boyfriend, who is Canadian, by the way, but has been working for 20 odd years in the United States. I have an O visa, right, because of my performing career. So I was lucky I could get to the United States, and I got to California, and because I have asthma and other stuff, I was able to get uh, the vaccine eventually, but it was still earlier than anybody in Canada. So I was lucky.
Yeah.
Again, lucky. I'm a lucky person.
You are,
You know,
you're very lucky with a lot of stuff. So you see, does asthma, because you said you just had asthma, has
yeah.
that anything with performance? Has that,
No,
no?
no, lots of singers have asthma. I don't know how come. It just, I developed it later in life, and you just have to be aware. I mean, you have to carry your puffer, just like anybody who has asthma.
Yeah. I have
Um,
a friend who does that. We'll walk a couple of blocks and then she'll just take out
oh
her.
no, no, I'm not that bad. No,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
I
she's
get
like,
it.
it's
I
the
get it.
weather.
Oh,
So,
really? No,
yeah.
no. I mean, it depends. If like I get it, I think it's so. I get it if I'm allergic to things like horses or cats or
Hmm.
stuff like that. Then I'll have like a, I might have a, what do you call an attack, But if I normally, I don't need it. No.
Yeah.
When
I'm,
I did get COVID, finally in June,
oh
and
my
then
God.
after COVID, I found that I needed my puffer for about 2 weeks, like
Yeah.
post COVID. But normally, no, no. One time I was recording, and I was way, way up in the country. There are some beautiful places,
Hmm.
like we have like a Tanglewood up here in Quebec,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden I started to cough. I'm like, what is this cough? And one of the recording engineers, he says to me, Sharon, that's an asthma cough. I'm like, oh, because I hadn't had an asthma attack in so long. I forgot, what it was. And I didn't have my puffer with me. I'm like, oh God, what do I do? He's like, here, use mine. I know you're not supposed to do that.
Listen, emergency situations.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then after that, I started to carry my puffer again because like I was like, oh, okay, Shar, It's like, yep.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah. So I'd love to bring up what we talked about before we started recording, how you kind of want to start getting into Broadway. And we also talked about, how it is to sing as an opera singer. But now that you're learning how to sing this Broadway style music, and it's all very different, how is it for you singing opera, singing as a cantor, and singing these Broadway songs? What's the
Wow.
difference? What do you find
Great question.
challenging? What do you find rewarding?
Right. Great, great, great question. Especially the part about the cantor because
Mhm.
it's so interesting because so parts of singing like a cantor
Mhm.
are operatic,
Mhm.
especially if you go back to the cantorial music of the 1950s and 60s, where you had like the great um, cantors like Jan Pierce, Richard Tucker, Robert Merrill, and they were actually Richard Tucker, Robert Merrill, Jan Pierce. They were actually opera singers,
Interesting.
and they were great cantors also. Well, Robert Merrill wasn't a cantor, but he sang cantorial music sometimes, and they sang like opera singers. And cantorial music has sort of morphed, though, as we've become more reform and less formal, as we were talking about before,
Yeah.
then the singing style has become less operatic. And so now, you have just anybody becoming a cantor with a guitar, right?
Yeah.
And then so they aren't even trained in their singing. And so the singing style obviously has become much more folk.
Mhm.
So some of the songs that you sing or that you find in synagogues nowadays are really not cantorial even,
Yeah. Or a
right?
traditional, I guess you could say, more the traditional type.
Right.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
and the thing is I can do both, right? Because and so even like on Broadway, I don't know if you've noticed, but like I'm not going to name any names, but sometimes when I go to Broadway, and I go to a lot of Broadway because I love Broadway. And I've brought up my kids going to Broadway. Every time we would go to New York, I'd always pack in like at least 2 to 3 shows. I just love
Yeah.
it. We would be sitting, way, 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 way up in the back, and I didn't care. We have a stack, all the shows we've seen. I
Oh,
just
I have a huge container under my bed of like
yeah,
playbills, and I
yeah,
keep a list of every single show I've seen. I've been
yeah.
seeing shows for, I don't want to age myself, but like 30 years. So,
Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
yeah. I mean, my kids, like literally, since I mean, I would just drag them.
Mhm.
So I think we all, I mean, I just drag because my boyfriend's son has just recently come to live with us, and he doesn't have any, and he's got a great voice, and he has a natural love of it. And I'm like, okay, how do I start him out? So
Yeah.
actually, I started him out on YouTube just with Avenue Q. I'm like.
Yeah.
And he loved it. I don't know how
Yeah.
to, you have to break them in,
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that because last night I saw something at 54 Below, which I know you've performed
I
at.
love, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a reunion of all of the like all different women who've played Jenna in Waitress,
Oh,
and
interesting.
two of
How
the
many are
hosts.
there?
Um, there was one, two. There was five last night, but it's like, one of them was a swing who went on, another person did like the second national tour, another one did the second national tour. So it was a mix of like Broadway, national tour, understudy, swing, what have you. But Christine Dwyer and her husband, who was hosting, they performed a song from Once together. And my friend and I were talking about it. And so last night I went on YouTube and I just sent her Once that's still on YouTube because it's just one of those shows that has such a special place in my heart and just
Yeah.
rejuvenates the soul. So, and I feel like certain theater can do that to
Yeah. I mean, my kids grew up, literally grew up listening to Godspell
you.
and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I mean, I just know that these shows are in their, you know, I don't know what you call it, souls. There's no way that they can
In their
forget.
DNA.
Right. And they're so musical, my kids, that like I know that they know every every
Yeah.
note of the show. I forget what we were talking about. I'm sorry.
Oh, we were talking about singing opera, cantor music, and we were
Yeah.
talking about
I-
folksy now cantor
And
music.
you were asking me the difference of how you sing them?
Well, yeah, for you, how do you feel the difference and what do you find the biggest struggle and the easiest part of it?
So, as I was saying before, opera is a sport, right?
Hmm.
It's a very different
Cardiovascular.
cardiovascular sport, but also it's like you're riding a huge so picture that you are, as I said before, you're a figure skater, okay?
Hmm.
And the music is going, and you're about to do a triple axel, right?
Hmm.
And it's really like that because the audience that loves opera and they're really a devoted, intelligent, knowledgeable fan base, right? The
Yes.
people who go and see Verdi, Forza del Destino, they know every note, they know every word, they are following, and they have seen it probably at least 3, 5 times. And they go or let's say it's Wagner, or let's say it's La Boheme, whatever it is, they've seen it before. And they are judging. Did you do it as good as this one who I saw last year at Les Gala? Are you doing it as well as this one who I'm seeing at San Francisco, and so on? Or did I just saw it on YouTube, what
Mhm.
have you, right? And are you holding that high note as long as such and such did? Right? So there you are. Oh, the triple axel. Oh no, she didn't do it. She did a double axel. Whoops, boom, she fell flat on her tuchus.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
Because that can happen.
Yeah.
Okay? Because here comes a high B flat, and ooh, she didn't do it in a spinny, beautiful, floaty pianissimo. Mm-mm-mm. Because there are days when you didn't get enough sleep, you had a talk with your sister who made you really upset, and you spent an hour crying. And guess what? Your instrument is right here, this tiny little box, which is the size of your little pinky finger, not fingernail. And those chords have to vibrate, and they have to vibrate very, very tightly. And you have to have that support that you're doing with your diaphragm and your your lungs, all the while wearing probably a costume that weighs about 20 pounds next to a tenor who's screaming in your ear and either tickling you or holding you too tight or pushing you or doing I don't know what. And you're on a stage where you've got a 150-piece orchestra and you can't see the conductor, and there and there's hot lights, and maybe you did sleep, maybe you didn't, maybe you're in an amphitheater in ancient Sicily where it's 120 degrees outside, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. And it doesn't always work.
Mhm.
It just doesn't. And maybe you have only one shot to get it right. I'm describing to you my career.
I'm just like, I understand, even though I don't sing.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
know, and it can be marvelous. There are moments where I have had moments where I know that there's like a thing of light shooting out of my head, going straight up to God. I know it. And then it's like, oh, this is the best career in the world. And then there are moments where you're like, fuck, pardon my language. Sorry, I
You
know.
can curse, it's fine.
Ah, you're like, oh my God, I didn't make that note. Then I want to just jump off the stage and die. Just throw me on top of the bow of the cello, you know?
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, that's the way it is. That's just what it is. And the career,
Yeah.
and you don't have, some people are lucky enough to have 40 performances of the same opera so that they do it enough times that they get that muscle memory and they
Hmm.
get it right. I don't know, 20 times out of 40, and then they're what's that word? When you're equanimity, when they feel okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So how is it you're slowly now trying to transition into Broadway? So how is that? Because I know you were saying Frank Wildhorn is teaching you more breath, more this, more
yes,
that.
yes, 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 yes.
So
So
how
again,
is yeah,
so now
so
what am I doing? So I've made all these albums. I'm learning all this repertoire. I've got dear, dear friends
mhm,
that are encouraging me. And the beauty of Broadway is that no matter what age you are, you could be like 80, I think. I don't know how
mhm.
old Bernadette is. I don't know how old. Oh, I nearly peed my pants seeing um what is Hello Dolly. Did
Yeah.
you see that?
I didn't see it with Bette Midler, but I saw it with Bernadette Peters.
I saw it with Bette Midler. I thought
Yeah.
I would die. They had to reupholster the seats after me.
They actually just announced that they're doing it in London, I think next year with Imelda Staunton,
Oh my
who
God.
just like she now does like
I
she's
don't know her.
that,
I
she's
don't.
a gypsy.
Is she good?
She's actually, I don't know if you watched The Crown,
I
but
know. My mother does.
yeah,
I
so
don't.
she's going to be Queen Elizabeth in the next fifth and sixth season. And do you watch Downton Abbey?
My mother does. I
Yeah.
have to.
So I have
Actually.
nothing. I can. She's in other things. Did you
Is she
watch the
great?
Harry
Is she?
Potter
You love?
movies?
I love everyone. Everyone.
So she was. Who's the like the really horrible villain woman who becomes
Oh,
like the headmistress at one
so is
point
she
or
gonna be
something
good?
in the Pink?
I don't know.
That's
But
Imelda Staunton.
oh,
Anyway,
oh.
but no, she's gonna be amazing. So
So are you
yeah,
gonna go?
if I don't have the money for London, but if somebody wants to send me there, sure.
You should just write it off as a business expense and go and
I
like
should. Listen,
teach the
I
class.
had somebody who lives in the UK on my podcast, so why not?
No, but like write her and ask to interview her, and then you just write everything off. I'll talk to you about it after.
Okay, we'll chat. We'll chat. I weirdly, it's
So
very funny.
anyway,
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say I find it interesting because it's for me when I'm trying to find people to come onto my podcast, it's so much easier to find UK actors, agents information than American
yeah,
actors. So I don't know
yeah.
why. I find that very weird. Anyway,
Well, I
so
actually need an aide. So, so to answer your question,
mhm,
I need to create some video audition content. I
mhm,
need to find a Broadway agent.
mhm,
And it's sort of like starting all over again, you know?
yeah.
And the truth is that I've been really, really, really busy,
Hmm.
and I haven't gotten my act together yet to do all that. It's like learning. I have to learn all new repertoire, you
Hmm.
know. So what's the repertoire, Sharon? Says Allison, right?
Yeah, what's the repertoire?
What's the
Tell me about
repertoire?
it.
Well, I would be perfect as Mrs. Todd in Sweeney Todd. What? Not Mrs. Todd. What's her name? Oh,
Uh,
Mrs. Lovett. Mrs.
yeah.
Lovett.
Well, they are doing a revival of that, but they already have the Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney cast.
Well,
So
that's okay. I would love to be her understudy, you know? Like I would love to be the understudy of the first cast out in the provinces. I'm not proud, and I know that I need to get experience, because like I don't have, like I'm starting from scratch now,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, I know
Uh,
that a lot of performers, it's not for them, it's not just Broadway, it's about, just the work. And even if it's regional theater, even if it's this, even if it's that, they're just
exactly.
happy to do anything. And that's a great way to build up the resume.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Um, uh, you know the grandmother in Pippin?
Yes.
I would be a great grandmother in Pippin.
Listen, next revival, whenever that happens, even though they
Yeah,
just had one, you never know.
yeah,
You
yeah.
never know.
I'm trying to think of, I mean, I'm still too young for her, but I'm thinking of, those kind of things where there's absolutely no age limit.
Yeah. You
Oh,
can do like Mama Morton in Chicago, even though that's a little bit more like dun, 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 not so much
yeah,
operatic,
I'm
but
I'm not really a belter.
yeah,
I'm not really a belter. The one you mentioned, the Piazza, Light in the Piazza,
Light in the Piazza.
absolutely.
That's my favorite. I actually listened
Yeah.
to the overture today.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's my
Yeah.
favorite musical. I just
And
sometimes,
those kind of roles are perfect for me because I'm actually an excellent musician.
hmm
You need probably somebody like me to sing that because it's
yeah,
not easy, that music.
it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Strangely,
actually looked at that recently. It's a tough sing. I can do that.
yeah.
That's something I could do. That
Yeah,
type
I'm
of
just gonna like start thinking of like musical theater roles for you.
well, like anything Menotti wrote. Anything. You know the Amal and the Night Visitors? The Mother.
No, I don't know that one.
Oh, that's a beautiful Christmas. It's more of an opera, but
Hmm
it's on the line.
hmm
Any Menotti opera that's sort of cross between opera and Broadway. Um, I can't think right now, but
It's okay. Now we're just like both sitting here thinking of like roles that you can do in
you're
musical
so true.
theater.
You're
Like,
very
what
kind.
roles could you play?
I know.
Yeah.
I actually somebody just suggested to me, the nurse in Pirates of Penzance. So there's lots of things in light opera
Yeah.
that I can do. So there are things. There are
There's
things.
things out there. Do you, so because it's a different way of singing, are you working with a vocal coach on how to kind of transition? How are you working on that?
Yeah, I have several vocal coaches, but my teacher for over 10 years now is Bill Schumann, very famous teacher in New York City, and he has worked with everybody. Both he works both with opera and with Broadway, so he's the perfect guy. He knows how to teach both, and I'm confident that he's the right guy, and I adore him, and he's also a dear friend.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah,
So let's talk about some of your philanthropy work because I what I love about it is that it focuses on the arts, which is very
yeah,
important, and
yeah.
also new composers.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk because I know you have a couple of them actually.
Yes,
These,
and before I forget, is it
yeah,
okay if I mention um, that I have a huge concert on October the 20th?
absolutely.
Oh, thank you. And is it
Yeah.
okay if I ask people, please, you could go onto, so in light of this, that concert
hmm
is for the prizes which I created
hmm
for Azrieli Foundation. So it's as Azrieli foundation.org. And if you go on that website, then you'll see the prizes and the concert. And you could click on there's a link, there will be a link, there should be a link to the concert, which is on October 20th. And you can see it live on Medici television. So it's Medici.TV.
I'm just
So
also writing this down so I can post
yeah,
it on social
I
media.
actually just tried it because I have an account on Medici TV, and if you go there, you can click on that link and it will take you. You put in Azrieli, Azrieli, and it will take you directly to the link for the concert on October 20th, and you'll be able to watch it live.
That's wonderful.
And I don't think that you have to pay anything to join. I think, I don't know. I hope not. I don't know. Maybe they make you pay. I already joined, but I don't think that they make you pay. Not sure.
Well, if you sign up, you'll find out, right?
Yeah. So this foundation, the Azrieli Foundation, that's the foundation that my father created,
Mhm.
and that's a public foundation. And for that foundation, I am pretty much in charge of steering the grants to arts and music,
Mhm.
which is it's a big job. I've really tried to increase all of um, the arts and music giving, and I created these music prizes, which are for new music
Yeah,
composition.
I apologize. Again, the sirens are just
Oh,
going
that's
off
what
in the
that is.
background.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah,
was
it's
okay.
me, it's not you. Again, Manhattan. So,
Okay, that's fine. No, no, it's fine. So that's that. And then I have two foundations that I created personally. One is the Sharon Azrieli Foundation for the Arts, and the other one is called Opera Cares. And those are much smaller foundations, where I'm trying to create programs to give to education for music and arts.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do.
it's great. So, with the Azarelli Foundation, that's giving money to Jewish performers, correct? Or
No,
new,
no, no,
what is it?
all
Or,
across the board, all across the board,
or
all over
okay.
Canada. The only thing with that foundation is it's very hard for it to give in the United States because there's some problem in Canada with giving to United States charities, and I'm really not sure why. They have to be go through. They have to go through probably a university or some kind of a thing like that. I'm really not sure why that is.
Why do you think education in the arts is so important?
Oh gosh. First of all, for some reason, in the past decade or so,
Mhm.
government support for arts and music has just plummeted. And I don't know why we don't value it anymore. But we know there has been neurological research, and we know that especially children's developing brains are only helped by especially music.
Mhm.
Babies' brains, children's brains. We used to give them, it's another language, first of all. Music is
Mhm.
another language. And, you know, all of this is so good for your brain. I don't, I don't understand why we don't, the government is just abandoned music. I don't understand.
I love how you said it's another language. I never ever thought of it in a different way. So I can tell people like, oh yeah, I speak the language of music. I don't, but
I,
that's a
it,
pretty fun thing
well,
to say.
if you think about it, right? First of all, to be able to read music,
Hmm.
it's a different language. You're looking at glyphs,
Hmm.
right, on a page. So
Hmm.
your brain is working in a different way. And when you listen to music, it's they've now, for example, we now know that even when a person has dementia, the thing that he will never forget
Hmm.
is the music that he has learned.
Yeah.
And the further back that the music is learned, he will still never forget that music.
Yeah.
Even if a person has Alzheimer's, they'll still remember music.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of a learning. It's on a different neural pathway,
Mhm.
and really we should be learning more about this. Look at the great conductors that we have that came out of Venezuela because they were on these programs for children called El Sistema. Have you heard about those?
I have not, but now I have.
Yeah, so they're like these programs for kids. They took them off the streets. They gave them after school instruction in music. They made instruments out of like I don't know what cardboard and they
Mhm.
just pick up instruments. But they saved these kids and out of these programs came some of the great conductors of the world. Gustavo Dudamel, who's conducting at the Met right now, you know. And it's like how this is the and I'm actually we did this in Canada and they're the only real systemic program is in New Brunswick, but we're trying to grow the program across Canada now with
Mhm.
the Azrieli Foundation. It's something that I really, really believe in. Um, yeah, this is something I want to do. I really want to grow music instruction for kids. You know who else is doing it in the United States? I think is Renee Fleming, and she's another opera singer who um, crossed over to Broadway a little bit too. I think she's singing in Broadway. I don't know if she's
Yeah, I
still.
saw her in Carousel when it was on Broadway, and she did a couple of. She actually performed in like the Piazza in a couple of cities around the
Right,
country,
that's
and
right.
she's actually going to be premiering a new work at the Metropolitan Opera with Tony-winning Broadway actress Kelly O'Hara, who's performed a few times at the Met. They're doing the
I think it's
hours.
called The Hours. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's a fine musician.
yeah. I don't know much about her music arts work, but I'll definitely look into it now. Do you have any dream roles? I know that I mentioned I was going to ask you about that, but and we talked a little bit
Definitely
about like
Mrs. Lovett. Definitely
yeah,
Mrs. Lovett. I cannot wait to do that. I'm
hmm
definitely going to do that somewhere, somehow.
hmm
That's a dream. I don't know. I'll have to think about any others. That's a big role.
yeah,
Um, um, I guess I should look at Light in the Piazza more seriously,
yeah.
but definitely Mrs. Lovett. And I don't know. Tell me what you think. If you think there's one that comes across.
I have to think about it because I mean I a friend of mine was talking to me about musical theater. Is like I'm a theater fan, but I don't know as much like in depth certain musicals like other people do.
I mean,
So
what would where do you like, what do you think is a musical which is done like every year or constantly?
I feel like Les Mis never dies,
Yeah,
but
oh
people
yeah,
love Les
there's
Mis.
not a part for me, I don't think. Oh, it would be the woman. Not
Yeah,
sure I love that part. She's very cynical, that character. I don't think I could do that day in and day out.
yeah. Well, acting. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say on the podcast certain shows just to get,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I sometimes feel like there are certain shows where it's just like beating a dead horse. Like we get it already. Like you don't have to revive it again. But I'm not going to name those on the podcast. But yeah, I don't know. I can't think right now.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
All
Do you
right.
have
Tell
any
me what else
top-
you need to know.
Well, do you have any, since you're such a theater fan, do you have any top going theater experiences?
Oh, I'm such a fan of Wicked. I adore Wicked. I would even play Mrs. Marble. There, that's an example.
Boom. We figured out your Broadway role.
I would even, it's not a great part, but just to be in that show, I would probably do that.
Yeah. I remember I saw it a couple of years ago because it came back up on my Facebook memories. And this was, I think, like right after the election or right before the election with Trump and Hillary. And my friend and I saw the show, and she was saying that the wizard is Trump, Alphaba is Hillary Clinton, and we're all the goats.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And we're
Oh,
like, oh my God, it's kind of true. So yeah,
I don't know if Elphaba is Hillary Clinton,
yeah.
but that's interesting.
Yeah, but the
Fun.
show is wonderful. I do love the fact that Jonathan Bailey, who is from Bridgerton and has a very large theater background, is playing Fiyero in the Wicked movie, and that they went with musical theater performers because Ariana Grande was on Broadway and Cynthia Erivo has a Tony, and they went with that type of casting for the movie. I don't think it has to be a two-part movie, but that's just me.
They're
Um,
making it into a two-part
you're
movie?
making Wicked into two parts, to which I'm like, they should just do what they did with Funny Girl,
Why?
put an intermission, because they're like, it's too grand to make it. You have to end the movie with
Oh, I don't agree with that.
gravity. A
No,
lot of
that's
people don't
silly.
agree with that, but they're gonna do it. Yeah,
That's too bad. That I don't agree with that either. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. What would you say yours is?
Oh God. Okay. So Natasha Peer and the Great Comet of 1812.
Really? Really?
Yeah, that's one of two musicals that has a special place in my heart. One
Why?
I don't know. There's just something about that show. There's certain things I just can't explain, which it's not great, but I just love that show so much. I saw it when it was first in the tent on 45th Street. My alarm that I wake up to is the interlude or the intro to No One Else. I just genuinely love that show. I saw it many times. How many times did I see it on Broadway? Four?
I saw it twice.
Yeah, I love that show. Almost every time I got a pierogi, which was great when they like threw it into the like. And I've been very so during the pandemic. Some friends and I created these virtual reading companies where we put on virtual reading performances to raise money for formerly known as the Actors Room, but now the Entertainment Fund and Broadway Cares. And I was very lucky enough to get to work with three of the performers who were in Great Comet. So I got to gush to be like, I love that show so much. I actually, ironically, my computer is sitting on the Natasha Pierre Great Comet coffee table book right now. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, I love that show. But
I actually really believe in the Actors Fund. I actually was thinking about that. I was thinking of that I have to figure out a way of helping the
yeah,
Actors Fund.
they
I love
actually
that.
just changed the name now to the Entertainment Fund, which I think is great because it's not just for actors, it's for everybody pretty much in the theater community and, opera, dance, front of
Oh,
house, back of house, it's for
oh,
everyone.
oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I believe in that fund, actually. It's a good fund.
Yeah. It's a lot of people do. And that was it was so great doing these readings because during the pandemic, they were also able to help a lot of people out who, couldn't perform because
Yeah,
their
actually,
industry was just
yes.
taken away pretty much.
Hmm.
But other things was I'm trying to think of Light in the well, going, but I went to the reunion concert of Light in the Piazza and I just remember crying throughout the entire second act. And walking home, I overheard some guy on the phone. He was saying how he was a subscriber to Lincoln Center and he just got tickets to this thing because it was a part of the subscription. And he said, yeah, everybody in my row was crying. And I just thought that was the funniest thing because the guy clearly didn't know the show and he just went. And he's like, yeah, everybody was crying.
Did
But I
he,
also
was he though? Did he get it? Like,
I don't know. I just overheard this like blip of a conversation and I just thought it was hilarious. What else? Play-wise, there was this play called Brief Encounter, which was based on the movie Brief Encounter. And it was one of the most brilliant theater experiences, how they did projection on the screen and somebody walked into the screen and they were on the screen. Also, the play next fall, there's this play called The Ferryman, which is
you like plays too.
I do, yeah. I'm really I was telling my friend, like, I really want like a good, like a ferryman type show, like a good UK import, mind-blowing show, just to like come back to New York so I can just sit there and watch it. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm really a musicals. I guess that
Yeah.
makes.
Well, no, I am too. My first play I saw was when I was a freshman in college years ago, but also Beth Level and Danny Burstein and the Drowsy Chaperone is just
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
some of
yes.
I still to this day I talk about how brilliant that was.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
there's more and also Liev Schreiber and Talk Radio. I don't remember much of the show, but I just remember sitting there watching it and watching him being like, "Oh, so that's what acting is." Yeah. But
Yeah.
I just a huge theater nerd. I mean, my bat mitzvah theme was Broadway.
That's
So, yeah. And
that's
the next show I'm seeing is actually Almost Famous, and that's a musical, and it's based on one of my favorite movies. And I have a friend from college who's making his Broadway debut in it. So that's very exciting.
oh, there's a Canadian in it, I think.
Oh,
One of my kids' friends is going to be in it. Guy, I forget his name, Patrick something. Have a look when you go.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just
I
I
can't
just know my
remember.
friend Brandon who's going to be in it, and I
Nice.
I feel like I'm the Jewish mother of my friends, but I don't know if I told him this, but I like subconsciously, unsubconsciously like feel like his Jewish mother. Cause like every time I talk about him making his Broadway debut, I start to cry. Cause like there's nobody I know who's like more deserving of this opportunity.
What's his name?
Brandon Contreras. He's actually been on my podcast too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's it. So I would love to just put a shout for people to please, if they can, watch my concert on October 20th
Hmm.
with Ichi TV. And maybe I can come back, and as soon as I know when my concert with Warren is going to be, I hope it'll be at 54 Below. We'll see.
Yeah. I live
That,
right around the corner. I can definitely make an appearance and watch it.
oh, that would be so wonderful. I'd
Yeah.
love to meet you in
But
person.
before we end, I do want to ask the Inside the Actor Studio
Oh, right, right,
question.
right. Go ahead.
So, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Love.
Mine too. What is your least favorite word?
Fear.
What turns you on?
Music.
What turns you off?
Cold.
What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
It's pretty much everyone's. What sound or noise do you love?
What sound or noise do I
Mhm.
love? I would, I probably, I love the noise of, I love water.
Yeah, that's a great one. What sound or noise do you hate?
Sirens.
I'm sorry that they went off a
Oh
couple
no,
of.
that's okay. I just, I mean,
Yeah. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
can it be something that I also do attempt? But I do love it.
Oh,
And
sure.
designer.
Yeah, because you have a background in it, you have the degrees.
Yeah.
What profession other than, oh no, I already asked that one. What profession would you not like to attempt?
An engineer of any kind.
Math. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, I do believe. I actually think heaven exists. What would I like him to say when
Yeah,
I
what
get
would you
there?
like to hear him say when you arrive?
Welcome.
As James Lipton would say, here are your students. Well, Sharon, thank you so
No,
much for coming
I
on.
don't want students. I just want them
Oh,
to
no,
say,
no. I said that's what James Lipton would say. And then the MFA students would be like, I'm a third year
yeah,
actor. And then they
no,
would
no,
ask
no. I
questions.
don't want that. I just wanted to say you can come in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for coming on. And everyone, if you are listening, please check out Sharon's concert on October 20th. If you, AzrieliFoundation.com, correct?
Azrieli. Yeah, AZRI.
Yes. Is it Azrieli.com or
AzrieliFoundation.org.
.org? I wrote it down wrong. The concert is on October 20th. Please watch. Please check out Sharon's many wonderful things. You can get her albums, you can listen to them online, check her out in a regional production or a Broadway production of Sweeney Todd when it comes to Broadway, not with Annalie Ashford and Josh Groban, just Sharon herself. Maybe you should do like a one-woman show of Sweeney Todd. That would be interesting.
The demon Broadway of let's think of it. Well, you know what, Allison? If I come up with such a thing, I will call you and
Why
we'll
not?
talk. Yeah, yeah.
I have a background in directing virtual things. Why not a live production on stage?
Okay, we'll
Yeah,
talk about it.
we'll
Let's
talk.
talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Have a good one.
Allison, thank you, thank you, thank you.